Tight end. Top 5.
Pretty straightforward this week. I got Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews back to number 2 slot, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, and Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I'm swapping Hawkinson and Andrews. So I got Kelce, Hawkinson, Andrews, and then I'm swapping Schultz and Kittle. Just because I know Schultz, had the quiet game, but he's running a route like closer to 90% of the time these days, and I still like him. Going against Philly, still could be a high scoring game. Against the Eagles, whereas like Kittle, he had the big game last week, and I feel like everyone's kind of chasing it now against Seattle. Like Seattle's defense is not very good, especially when you're not talking about like Tariq Woolen at that corner spot. And Washington, if I'm not mistaken, is let's see. Yeah, they're number 3 against tight ends in DVOA, and they are allowing the fewest schedule adjusted yards per game to tight ends, 30.8. So yeah, I think that's why I'm gonna have Kittle 5. Probably I think he's consensus 3. So I'll probably be a couple spots lower on him this week. All right, who are you high on?
I'm high on Dawson Knox this week.
Yep.
He's always in the sit-start fringe, so I do like pointing him out if I'm high or low on him. But let's see, his routes run rate the past 3 weeks have been,
80, 94, 89.
Yep. There you go. So he's averaging
about 88%.
Yeah, he's averaging 88% the past 3 games. Plus, the past 2 games, he's actually seen the highest targets per route run rate. So, he's just been cashing in, and he's always going to have, top 10 in terms of touchdown odds. But now he's a pretty good bet to get 3 to 4 catches too. So he does have like a sneaky high floor ceiling combo. So he's my tight end 8 this week. Against this bad Bears defense, and the consensus is tight end 16. Maybe that's.
Sorry, I was gonna ask. Like, you mentioned like his last 3 weeks? Do you also kind of weight the last 3 weeks heavier for tight ends, like in terms
when it comes to routes run?
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, yep. I look at the context. Sometimes if a team's trailing or leading, they can use more or less 2 tight end sets or things like that. But Knox, it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, I'm looking at that pretty heavily. And whenever he is averaging, over an 85% routes run rate, I'm more interested. He had a couple games previously where he was around the 75% range, but more importantly, it's just the targets he's seeing on them. So back-to-back weeks with a pretty significant target share. That's why, my target rate from is a bit higher. And with him, that's what it comes down to. Like I said, sometimes he could be sort of a touchdown dependent tight end. But if we can ever get him up around 3.5 receptions, that's when I really like him.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking because like 3 is kind of that magic number for me too with tight ends. When you start to see 3 games of certain usage, that's when the projection really starts to change. Running back's a little shorter, wide receivers a little longer, but anyone else or just Knox?
No, that just Knox.
Yeah, for me, I already mentioned him, TJ Hawkinson. I have him tight end 2 this week. The Giants are dead last in DVOA against tight ends, and Hawkinson's route participation has been right up there at 89% last 3 games as well. So, I think Hawkinson should have a bounce back spot here. It's again, this Giants defense, man, they get stops on 3rd down in the red zone, but they've been really bad against the tight end position. Washington, for some reason, didn't really. Logan Thomas, I guess, has been a ghost. I don't know what's really going on with him, but I do think Minnesota is going to go to Hawkinson this week after he was the guy that kind of had the quiet game out of all those guys. 3 of 9 targets for just 33 yards. So he's due for a bounce back, but he's seeing massive usage. Since he came to Minnesota, 9 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 8 targets, 9 targets. Last week was actually the first time he failed to catch at least 4 passes as a Viking. So I think he's in a good bounce back spot.
Yeah, which is incredible considering Cousins threw for 460 yards.
Yep.
So, like I said, we can't count on KJ Osborne to go 10 for 157 every week going forward. So, a lot of those targets that he's giving up are probably going Hawkinson's way.
Yep. All right. Who are you low on?
I'm low on David Njoku. He's my tight end 15. The consensus is tight end 6. Half of this is, again, getting ahead of this potentially heavy snow and heavy win game. Like I said, the total is only 31.5, so his touchdown odds are lower. But also, this is one of the tougher matchups for tight ends. They face the Saints. They rank second in DVOA against tight ends on the season. So, that's just enough to knock him outside of the top 12 for me. And honestly, this, tight end 7 to tight end 15 range is separated by less than a point. So just the subtlest, tiniest details can really shoot a guy down the ranking. So Joku, he's facing an uphill battle this week. So I know I've been high on him, I think, on the show the past 2 weeks, but this week, you got to probably plan for somebody else, look for streaming options, because it could be nasty there, and it's a tough matchup. So he's sort of a mid-range tight end 2 for me this week.
Yeah. That's just that matchup. I'm low on Juwan Johnson in that scene.
Oh, nice.
I mean, listen, this guy, what's gonna happen? He's gonna catch touchdowns, and then people are gonna chase, and it's the floor is just so low because you're projecting him to only catch about 2 passes a game, 2 to maybe 3, and if he doesn't get a touchdown, you're kind of out of luck. So I have him for 2.5 catches, 27 yards. But as you mentioned, touchdown odds for everyone in this game are low. So I have him about just about 0.2 touchdowns. So not a very high chance of getting a touchdown. I think, Andy Dalton, I only have him passing for about 1 touchdown in this game. How
many do you have Taysom Hill throwing for then?
1 touchdown. No, it is like 0.1 or something, or 0.05. But it's Juwan Johnson, I think he's running around about 60 to 70% of the time. So it's not quite high enough, I think, to just kind of blindly bet. Like, I'd rather bet on a touchdown with a guy like Dawson Knox, who, as you mentioned, is running around, 80 to 90% of the time. And, that game is, the weather shouldn't be as bad. I know it's still outdoors, but this one's just everyone. I mean, Taysom Hill, even I got him tight end 18, so I'm low on him. I know he could run more, but just when a total is 31, let's see, what is that projected score? That is like 17-14, I think, is the projected score for that game. So 17-14 is the projected score for that game. And that's like that score happens in real life a lot, but you pretty much never see a total that low. At least not it's like 2000 or in the 90s or something. So I would be careful with all these Saints and Browns. All right, what are we doing for the prop?
So I was deciding between Pat Freiermuth and Darren Waller.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm just going with both. I think it's very important to talk about these guys. So my prop is Pat Freiermuth minus 4.5 receiving yards against Darren Waller.
Pat Freiermuth minus 4.5, as in if Freiermuth,
he's favored by 4.5 yards.
Yeah. Let's see, what do I got here? 40 versus.
And where do you have them ranked? I think that's the most important part of this discussion.
I have Freiermuth still at 7 because I know did he go goose egg last week? He was injury report. He was on the injury report. He still had his normal route participation, so I can't really bump him down too much. I have him 7th still. I have Waller 12th, which is lower than consensus. I just don't like he ran a route 66% of the time last week. Season average is 69, his median 75. But I don't know if that was just easing him in, or they're kind of gonna treat him with a little more kid gloves. So I'd like to see his routes bump up a little bit more before I just blindly project him for 10-20% higher than he was the week before. So all that to say, I still have Waller only 2 yards behind.
Oh, okay.
Fryer.
And where did you have him ranked?
Waller. 7 for Fryer was 12 for Waller. Consensus is 6 for Waller. So that's
so crazy. Yeah. That was a similar process for me. I have Waller tight end 14. He is just right on that cusp. I'm just worried people are just going to assume, like you said, like he's going to go up to 80% routes run rate and be a top 5 tight end. We don't really know. So certainly, if you want to bank on Waller's ceiling, like we did see him have a good game last week, but based on his usage, it was more of a high-end tight end 2 kind of usage. Devontae Adams could have a bounce back game here. So there's a lot of reasons not to like Waller, but also going back to Freiermuth, the goose egg was kind of a bizarre stat line because, like you said, he had a 74% routes run rate, but the previous 2 games, he was hovering on 56% routes run, and they've been using Zach Gentry and Connor Hayward in early down, like 11 personnel. I don't know what they're doing, but that's what's been going on. Who knows if it was injury related or something, but he was able to see enough targets to make up for it. And then last week he went back to seeing, a higher, run rate, but then, so he has just been a bizarre mystery in projecting. So both of these guys are really tricky to project. At the end of the day, check our end of the week rankings for these guys, because they could go up or down based on how we update. But just initially, they seem really tough to trust, in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, and the issue, and remember, both of these guys really, but especially Waller. The Raiders team total is like 18, and so like Waller, he had that stretch most of his career. Actually, he hasn't been a great touchdown scorer. So, it's been volume. Yeah. So is he going to be a volume guy with Devontae Adams on the team? I don't know. So yeah, it's tough. And then Freiermuth, you got Deontay, you got Pickens there. So you don't need Freiermuth every game, especially Pittsburgh's running the ball better. They're playing better. Yeah. Defense. They're just in these low scoring games now. So I do get it, but it's like, who are you going to put above them at this point? Like, it's like, it's like outside of
the tight end position is
Taysom touchdown odds are lower. So I think you probably have to, in a 12-team league, you probably have to start both of them guys if you like either one if you have them. In a 10-team league, maybe Waller's a little dicier, but I get your point.
And even Goddard, like, who knows?
Yeah,
how many routes? Just it's a tough week.
Yeah, I have him I think 12 or 13. Let's see, where do I have him? Oh no, I have him 16 right now, but that's because I still have him questionable. I'll bump him up a little.
Yeah, we'll know more later in the week, but all these guys, man, just anybody who drafted Travis Kelce is sitting pretty, I bet.
Yeah, because Mark Andrews is kind of struggling too. So it's
just everybody behind Travis Kelce this season has just been chaos.